I'm a business analyst, IT business analyst. And I'm here to share with everyone here on this call the possibilities, the endless possibilities that you could have with business analysis. Okay, Alfred, your hand is raised.
Yes, so I won't be doing this alone. I also have my colleague on the call, the person of Bukumi. She'll be handling a couple of things. And we would like each and every one of you on the call to stay to the end because we have an amazing deal and offer for those that will be joining our business analysis training starting on the 27th of this month. Yeah, thank you, and over to you, sir.
All right, thanks. Yes, so I was saying that during the course of this class, I'm going to give you some insights into what business analysis is, what the career space also is like, the possibilities, and basic foundation for you to understand even some basics of what we do as business analysts. And then in the event that you join the course, some of the things that you'll be learning, and basically, so to say, business analysis 101 is what we're having today. And I hope we're going to have an exciting session. And I hope this is going to spur you to delve into this interesting field. It's a very interesting field. I believe business analysis is for anyone who considers themselves as a problem solver, right? So I'm going to share my screen now. Please let me know when or if you can see my screen. All right, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, how about now? Okay, cool. All right. So basically, like I mentioned, we'll be looking at what is business analysis, who is a business analyst, what's the role of a BA, and career opportunities. Then we'll touch on what I call the business analysis core concept model for you to understand the concept of business analysis. And then we'll touch on business analysis certifications, and then I think we'll also talk about what the remuneration is like across the industry and in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. So just before we start, I'd like to meet everyone, right? You can just say your name, where you're based, and then what is your expectation at the end of this class. So let's take turns. Yes, what you expect to have at the end of this class. Your name, where you're based, what you do currently, and your expectation. So should I call names or you guys are just going? Okay, let me call names. I have here first Fabio Luatobi. Are you there? You can just
Yeah.
unmute.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir. My name is Fabio Atobi, currently a travel and logistic consultant. I'm based in Akure, Ondo State.
amazing. That's my state. I'm from Ondo States.
You're
Forget,
from Ondo
forget
State?
that. Forget that Oshun you are saying. It's not Oshun. It's Osun. It's
No, I said
Osumakiwa.
I'm from Ondo State, not Oshu.
Yeah, I said I'm also from Ondo State. I said forget the Oshun you see in my name. It's not actually Oshun. It's Osun.
Okay,
Osumakiwa. Yes. So
okay.
it's a pleasure
Nice
to
to meet
meet you,
you.
sir.
Same here, sir.
So what's your expectation?
To become a business analyst after the course, I wish to I want to diversify into business analytics after the whole course and to become a business analyst.
Awesome. Well done, sir. Okay, just one last question, and every other person can also add that to what they're saying. What's your understanding of business analysis for like prior to this class? What do you know about business analysis as a career?
Hello, sir. I'm here to learn. I'm a novice. Let me use that word. I'm a
Oh,
novice. I've come to learn.
interesting. That's fine. All right. Over to you, Gustav. Oh, he just dropped off as I was about to call his name. Maybe internet. Okay, Ijoma Henry. Let's hear from you. Ijoma Henry, are you there? Okay, let's move to Patsa Jonah. Forgive me if I pronounced it wrongly.
That was perfectly pronounced.
Wow, I'm proud of myself.
Yeah. All right.
All
Good
right.
afternoon, everyone. My name is Jonah Patsa. I'm joining you from Akwanga in Nasarawa State. I
Wow.
currently serve as the human resource manager at Movon Finance. We are in VA in Lagos.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
I'm actually here to add to my knowledge bank because I've not
Okay.
missed any of this session since it started like 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So that is that.
Awesome. Great to meet you.
Yeah.
Olabi Oboro.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olabi Iboro. I currently work with ETF Markets, that is Hot Forex Market. I work as a back office administrator, which is basically an operational with the payment side of things. So I joined this course looking to gain skills that maybe I might pivot, maybe change, into career change, maybe later in the nearest future. Is why I joined this
No.
course. And then I said, what it's just analyzing data for business needs or to project business needs or to see what the market is reacting to and then use data to kind of give us that information and to also to let's say position ourselves or put more energy in. And that's just what it is. Thank you.
Right. Awesome. Thanks, Oboro. Where are you from, by the way? Your surname is Yoruba. The other one doesn't sound Yoruba.
I am from Kogi State.
Oh,
I'm
I
from
see.
Kogi
I
State.
see.
I'm from Ogoimagongo in Kogi State. Ogoimagongo local government.
Okay. Awesome. It's a pleasure to meet
Uh,
you. Abiodun Rachel, let's hear
it's
from you.
here.
Rachel, are you there? Okay, I think you joined in the middle of the conversation. So what we're doing is introducing ourselves. Just tell us what's your name, where you're based, what you do, and then your expectation for this class.
Hello everyone. My name is Okunla Abiodun Rachel and I stay in Lagos. And my expectation from this course is that I would learn like what analytics is all about.
Awesome. All right. Finally, Ijoma Henry, if you are with us now. Ijoma Henry, are you there? Okay, Gustav is back.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I intend to enhance my knowledge on business analysis so as to
Okay.
make more progress in my digital marketing skills and business. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Um, how about you, Gustav Adamson? Let's meet you. Tell us about yourself, where you're based, what you do, and your expectation for this class. Hello, Gustav Adamson. Are you with us? Hello, hello, hello. Okay. If you're speaking, you're muted. So all right, so let's just get right into it. So business analysis. We'll start by, so our discussion points are what is business analysis, who's a business analyst, what are the competencies of a business analyst, what's the role of the BA, talk about the business analysis core concept model, talk about the business analysis certifications, the industry or salary range, then the demand and the career opportunities. Then we'd also hopefully touch on how to land your first job at the end of this class. So just as everyone sets their expectations, the expectation is that at the end of this class, you'd be able to understand the fundamentals of business analysis and then the vast opportunities associated with this career. So the big question, what is business analysis? Oftentimes there's this confusion about what's business analysis, how is it different from data analysis, and the likes. So business analysis is a practice that enables an enterprise to articulate their needs. So at the core of business analysis is to identify and articulate the needs of an organization, and then we establish what we call a rationale for change. Because for any system or organization to improve, you need to identify that need for change. Change is a way in which we improve, right? Just as the analogy of the metamorphosis of a caterpillar, right? It moves from being what we call like I think, I don't know if I use the word zygote, but from there it moves to the caterpillar, and from there it blossoms into a butterfly eventually. There's that metamorphosis, right? And basically what we do in business analysis is that for us to come to an environment, articulate the needs and the rationale for change so that we can design and come up with solutions that deliver value, that makes that business better. So in business analysis, you are coming to identify what we call the current state, the as is state, and then you are trying to map out a process to get to the desired future state. So for every business, for every organization, there's they usually have their strategy, they have their vision of where they want to be. And as a business analyst, you understand the business, you understand technology and the possibilities that technology offers. And with that, you also understand user or customer needs. So you marry those things together and see how you can bring the business to that desired future state. So that's what business analysis is. So we like to say that business analysis is a research discipline, right? Because you are asking questions, you're doing lots of research, you're understanding the current problems, you're researching on how things can be better. So you identify business needs and then you determine the solutions to those business problems. So, I mentioned current state. So we define or we understand the current state, and then we define or map out the future state and determine what is required to get us from this present or current state to the future state. That's the summary of what we do in business analysis. So If you have done your research before now, you may have seen some things about business analysis as things around gathering requirements, documenting requirements, working with development teams, working with stakeholders, sometimes working with some pieces of data. All of these things, the goal is to identify business needs and problems, establish or understand the current state, and then to define the future state. So that's what we mean by articulate needs and the rationale for change. So we can design and describe solutions that can deliver value. So in an organization where there is a current process of how they do things, it's the work of the business analyst to test and confirm that the way we are doing it, is this the best way of doing things? We can actually have a better way of doing this that would offer more value to us as a business and to our customers. That process of inquiry, of research, and of preferring solution is business analysis. Whether maybe for someone who has a business, um, goes about recording their inventory in a particular book, right? And as a business analyst, you are in that environment and you realize we can be more efficient with this. Can't we have an application where we can use to do all of this? Or in the world of AI, someone is doing lots of spending a lot of time doing maybe in an academic environment. In fact, many of us will notice that in schools today, I, I know, for example, in Unilag, they do more of online classes than they do physical classes now because you identify that you have lots of students and you have less facilities in terms of lecture theaters to accommodate these classes. The way a business analyst will think is, okay, let us have Zoom, let us have all these kind of solutions, and let us use that to make the process more efficient. That's basically what we do. So in view of this, we should be able to answer who a business analyst is. So there's what we call the BACCM guide. The BACCM guide is the business analysis body of knowledge. There's a book that is the body of knowledge that guides everything business analysis, right? So as described by the BACCM guide, anyone who performs business analysis tasks, no matter their job title, organizational role, can be termed a business analyst. That seems a bit controversial, right? Who agrees? You can omit your mic. Because what do you mean everybody, anybody who does this and that can be termed a business analyst? Just like saying anybody who can prescribe drugs, who can identify malaria is a doctor, a pharmacist. But you know, in Africa, many of us, once we already know the symptoms of malaria, right? And oftentimes we are right that it's malaria. For parents, you just see how your children are. Just yeah, he has malaria, or you should be treated for malaria, right? In Africa, but that may not always be the case, right? So I say that's just a digression to explain that concept. Sorry, a second, please. Moment, please. All right. Yes. So as I was saying, the reason why we say this is a business analyst is someone who basically investigates documents, processes, products, services, systems, and sometimes even software to improve the current process, right? That's what we are all about. And oftentimes, I know we have someone who is into HR here. We have people who are in different roles here, which you have all mentioned. Oftentimes, we are all about trying to think of ways to improve what we do in our offices or in our jobs or in our businesses for those who are entrepreneurs. That is what business analysis is all about, right? So the business analyst is one who processes, interprets, documents, and analyzes business processes, products, services, systems, and software to improve the current processes and make profitable decisions through insights and data analysis. So that's where data comes in for a business analyst. So a data analyst, on the other hand, is someone who learns to analyze. By analyze, we're talking about collecting data, cleaning data, organizing data, and processing data in a bid to get insight for the business, or whatever context. That is the context of data analysis. So it's basically all around data. Let's say in a company now, we want to know, we have about 5 payment channels. We have through POS, we have payments through online channels, we have payments through cash, we have payments through banks. Now we want to analyze what is the volume of transactions we are having in these different channels. Or in a bank, you have successful transactions, you have failed transactions. The work of a data analyst is to monitor, to gather the data of failed, make inference from data. Sometimes they go as far as predicting what would happen in the future based on existing data. We've noticed these patterns. Now we can foretell that in the next 2 years, if things continue like this is how. So we have the predictive aspect of data analysis. And sometimes for data analysis, you just want a dashboard to monitor your data in a visual sense, right? So that is data analysis. But business analysis goes further to um, analyze the entire scope of processes, of softwares, of products, of systems. So in a bid to make things better, to make better decisions through the insights that you get, right? So that's why we say the role of a business analyst is to ensure business efficiency through their knowledge of both IT, that's information technology, and business function. So as a business analyst, you're usually a bridge standing on the legs of business and technology. So exactly, Gustav, correct. As a business analyst can work across various industries. That's one of the advantages of business analysis. You can work in different industries. So business analysis is context based, right? It's context based. Okay, I'll attend to the questions later. Just keep dropping your questions in the chat. If you have questions, I'll from time to time answer them. Yeah. So you're standing on the legs of technology and business, which means you understand business. You have what we call business acumen to understand basics of business, things like a business model, things like business planning and all of that. You also understand some things around projects. Then you understand technology. You know what the possibilities of technology, which means you are going to be hungry for innovation. You're going to be doing lots of research on innovation, technology, and the likes, right? So that's, and then you are standing on those two legs to serve the business and to serve customer, right? So that's what we do. So as a business analyst, you help to solve problems and improve processes using data and insights. They also help organizations to optimize business processes by assessing the business model, and I mentioned business model, and its integration with technology. So that's the core of what we do. That's the core of what we do as business analysts. I'll move to, okay, let me attempt questions before I move to the next slide. I hope we are following so far. So Adamson says, so in a tech-driven company or startup, what's the difference between, okay, Toby, I'll come to you. What's the difference between the roles of a business analyst and a product manager? Can they both exist in the same team, or can a business analyst sometimes take on the responsibility of of a product manager? Brilliant question. Myself, I function in the capacity of a product manager and business analyst at different times, because these two will even get there. I have it in the slides. One of the roles in which a business analyst can work is product manager. You can work as a product manager, you can work as a product owner. It depends, because the concept of being a product manager is largely based on the concept of business analysis. The only difference oftentimes is that product management sometimes goes to the extent of growth, which means you're having to also pitch products, you're having to, because you own, you kind of, you're managing the product. So your focus is more on a particular product, not on the organization or a process, right? But in some organizations, all you have is a product manager. They are in, and in some organizations, you have just a business analyst. So in industries that are non-tech, that are not tech product-led organizations, oftentimes you have business analysts. But for a product-led organization, oftentimes you have that role as a product manager. You have multiple product managers. And then where they have business analysts in such organizations, the business analyst is looking more inward in terms of internal processes, in terms of the organization. So the scope of the business analyst is not going to be um, regarding product, is more about the business processes and also the opportunities in terms of product for the business. So as a business analyst, I may come and say, oh, the way we are serving our customers based on our understanding of the business and also customer needs, I think we can have such and such a product or a feature, right? From that moment, you pass it on to the product manager. Product manager owns the product, owns the vision, and develops it. So talks about, product manager is doing all of sprints and all of that, backlog and all of that. So that's where the interplay comes in. But they are two closely related roles. They can both exist in a team sometimes, but sometimes business analysts can take on the responsibilities of a business of a product manager. So it's very fluid, very fluid. Yep, yep. Oluwatobi, you had a question. Mr. Fabi Oluwatobi, are you still there? Okay, I think he dropped off. All right, cool. Okay, he's back. Fabi Oluwatobi, you had a question before you left.
Hello, sir. Sorry, it was a mistake. Please.
Okay, cool. All right, Adamson, I'll come back to your next question because I think I should touch on it along the line of the presentation. So we have competencies of the BA. We have the business skills, we have the technical skills, and we have the soft skills. So business skills will speak to business plan development, financial modeling, business modeling, marketing skills, sales skills, strategy. Now, where your marketing skills will come in is marketing skills is not priority, because where those skills come in is when you're having to pitch to stakeholders or to management, right? That's where you need to be able to have sales and marketing skills, because there'll be different trade-offs, right? Because people have different expectations. Basically, stakeholders have different needs and expectations, so it's good to have those kind of business skills. And then sometimes maybe when you're having to represent an organization in an industry scope, so that's where those come in. But technical hard skills, basic Microsoft Office, that's speaking to Excel, PowerPoint, Microsoft Word. Those are basic for anybody, right? And you should, especially PowerPoint for presentations, because you have different presentations, right? Excel for basic analysis, because you would have to do some basic data, some few data analysis sometimes, and then also documenting data in spreadsheets sometimes. So then effective writing skills, because a huge part of business analysis is documenting. So you need to have good writing skills. You need to have research skills. Besides the research-based discipline, then, talking about tools, we have Jira, Confluence, Trello, um, Monday.com. These are all project management tools because you're going to have to use them at some point. So you need to know. So one tech hard skills will be project management skills, and then also project management tools, knowledge of those tools. Then, basic understanding of agile frameworks, that's what we call agile. Then SWOT analysis, that's strength, weakness, opportunities, threats. We also have PESTEL, we have Moscow. Moscow speaks to must have, should have, could have, would have. Those are prioritization techniques when it comes to requirements. You would get to know all of those when you have the classes. Then elicitation and collaboration speaks to how you are able to elicit. Elicit speaks to collecting requirements and collaborating with stakeholders or teams to get things done. And then we have soft skills. Definitely, you need to have brainstorming skills, being able to brainstorm, communication, delegation, problem solving, negotiation. Very important because you are going to act a lot as a middleman. You a business analyst is a facilitator, right? So you're going to have to negotiate with stakeholders a lot. So you need to understand, you need to be very political as a business analyst. And that's where people management comes in also, people management. So I know someone here said it's in HR, you probably do well as a business analyst also. Then you have analytical skills. Yes, analytical skills are very important. All right. So that's what we call the business analysis core concept model. This defines the knowledge areas and the competencies of a business analyst. So this model is defined by the IIBA, the International Institute of Business Analysis. So I'll start first from the proficiency scale. Um, we have that decodes some of the colors you have here. You have general awareness level, we have the practical knowledge, you have the skilled, you have the expert, and the strategist. So you can have a you can have a strategist level of proficiency as a business analyst, and you can have the expert level, the skilled level, you have practical knowledge, and some we at the end of this class you have general awareness. Yeah, that's the proficiency skill. So and then there are other, should I say, methods that business analyst professionals use to perform business analysis tasks. We have agile methodology, we have information technology, you have business architecture, business intelligence, business process management, business data analytics, cybersecurity. These are concepts that we revolve around to deliver our daily tasks, right? But now to the knowledge areas, there are 6 knowledge areas of business analysis. They are the foundational 6 knowledge areas of business analysis. And the first is business analysis, planning, and monitoring. So there's the planning phase, right, where we do the actual planning of business analysis and monitoring. Then we have the elicitation and collaboration knowledge areas, everything around how we identify requirements, collect requirements, when we have workshops, interviews with stakeholders to gather requirements, have surveys, customers or internal users or stakeholders, development team, all of that, elicitation and collaboration. And then we have what we call the requirements lifecycle management, what that speaks to is from the point where you elicit the requirements down to when they are developed. So when we say developed, development could be development of a software, or it could be design of a process, right? So that's development, and we have to get to the point where it's developed, where it is in use and tested, and we can get feedback and reevaluate and continue the process of optimizing and getting things better. So that's the requirement life cycle. Then we have the knowledge area of strategy analysis, where you're able to analyze in terms of strategy, business strategy. Then we have requirements analysis and design definition. This is where we actually tests requirements, we analyze requirements, and then we move on to the aspect of designing them, where we have prototypes, we have um, workflows, process flows, and all of that. So that's where we have requirements analysis and design definition. And then we have finally solution evaluation, when the solution is in use, like I mentioned, and then we evaluate the solution, and if there's any further need for improvements, and then the cycle continues. So, underlying competencies, I already spoke to some of this in the previous slide. They are the behavioral characteristics which speak to the soft skills, um, about knowing how to negotiate, knowing how to communicate, right? Knowing how to basically behavioral skills, emotional intelligence, all those kind of things. We need to have those are underlying competencies. Then business knowledge, business acumen. As a business analyst, you need to understand how businesses work, how businesses are formed, how businesses thrive, what's the business model, right? You should be able to design a business model canvas. So those are foundations. And then communication skills, very important competency. Should be able to communicate well, both spoken and written. Interaction skills, you would interact with different people from top to bottom of an organization. So you should know how to interact with different kinds of people, right? Different classes of people. Then tools and technology, very important. You must be crazy for technology and innovation. Let me put it out there, you don't need to know how to code, right? You don't have to go and start learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Node.js, all that stuff. If you have it, cool, you could be a technical business analyst, but you don't need it. But what you need to know is the possibilities of technology, how technology works, how development works, what are the processes. There's what we call the software development life cycle. What's that life cycle? Things like that. How, if someone wants to build a website, what's the process, right? If there's a particular process, what can technology do to solve that process? And thank God we have ChatGPT now. You can always use that to find out, research and all that stuff. So analytical thinking and problem solving, basically, the word is business analysis, which means you must be very analytical and be a problem solver. So yeah, what's the role of a business analyst? The role of business analyst is a consultancy role, right? A business analyst, you're more like a consultant. So we even have business analysts that do not work with organizations, like as staff. We have business analysts that consult for organizations where you want to do a review of their business process and make recommendations, right? Because what we do as a business analyst is to investigate business systems like we've established, identify gaps or options for improving the business systems, and then you bridge that need with the use of technology, right? So this definition is by the British Computer Society. So that's the role of a business analyst. So it's such that at a level in your career, you can just sit down, be consulting for different organizations, make recommendations of how they can improve their systems, um, make recommendation of solutions they can have. That's how um, interesting things can be. So you are not tied to working in an organization. You can work in an organization to get grounded very well, and then at some point in your career you can just be on your own and consult for different organizations, have projects with them, have projects here and there where you basically help deliver value to these organizations. And then the activities, what's the day-to-day like um, activity of a business analyst? You're understanding problems and goals of an organization, enterprise. You're analyzing their needs and solutions. You're devising strategies, coming up with strategies on how to improve a business or a process or a product, a system, right? And you're a change agent driving change, and you're facilitating stakeholder collaboration, because before for us to achieve or drive change, there are different moving parts, different players, different people that are involved. The process owners, those who would develop the solutions, those who would fund the process, those who would approve, different bureaucracy. So you are facilitating collaboration between all of these stakeholders to ensure that that change is achieved. Because even when we want to drive change, there's oftentimes resistance to change. In any place where, okay, we want to say, let's change this thing, let's make these things better, there are some people it will affect, but there are some people that don't want it to work out, right? So you must know how to facilitate that collaboration to achieve the desired goal. And that leads me to what we call the BACCM, the Business Analysis Core Concept Model, right? So there are 6 concepts that business analysis revolves around. 6 basic concepts. And what are those concepts? You would have heard me say these things a lot during the course of this class, except for the last thing. In fact, I've used all these words. So we have what we call change. Change is one of the 6 core concepts. Next is what we call need. I'm sure you've heard that a lot in this class also. The next thing is solution. And then we have what we call stakeholder. That's also you've heard. And then value. And then finally context. And these 6 things are largely intertwined. They have an impact on one another, and that's what business analysis is largely about. And so what's change? Change is basically responding to a need, transforming, there's you've identified a need, so you move from where things are currently to respond to that need. So it's an act of transforming in response to a need. And now, what's a need? Let's go back to what a need is. A need is something that has been identified as a gap, right? A problem that needs to be addressed, or an opportunity to be addressed. That's a need. So responding to that, transforming in response to that, is a change. And how do you achieve the change? There has to be solutions, because we identify that problems oftentimes, needs oftentimes are like problems, opportunities that need to be addressed. And so the direct response would be solution, right? As a specific way of satisfying one or more needs in a context. Question: what is context? So context speaks to before I even talk about the meaning within the scope of business analysis. Context speaks to like a focused boundary. When you narrow something to a particular, like you narrow something down, you say we are talking about, when in the conversation we're talking about, this is the context. Those are like the ambits of the conversation, right? So the circumstances that influence, that birthed, or that are influenced by, that surround, right? And provide understanding of change is what we call context. So everything around the the concept of change, like what influences it, what is influenced by it, the understand, and then that gives us understanding of that change. So to break it down, we have needs, right? We identified a problem and want to solve it. So let's say the problem is um people are unable to move from point A to point B. Oftentimes they have to walk and all of that. Now, to bring a change, okay, let's say in an institution or in an estate, if you don't have a car, you can't move, right? And we see that people are walking a lot, people are having to miss classes if it's a school. Now, how do we solve that problem? The change would be to birth solutions like having shuttles within the estate or within the institution, right? That's one solution that births a change. Now, the change is that that problem does not really exist anymore. People already have options, right? Now, the context is the circumstance that influence it. Okay, within this context, it means that, oh, we are talking about how can we get people to arrive point B from point A without um, having to walk. That's the context. Walking is out of context, right? So then we have to think of ways. Now, flying is not an option. So we are talking about the ambit, the parameters, right? The boundaries around providing solution, the understanding of the change that we need to have. So that's what context is basically. Now, value speaks to the worth. I mean, that's self-explanatory, or importance of something, a pinpoint of that to a stakeholder within a context. So, which means when you are birthing a solution, you're not just doing what you feel like doing. You're not just, it is because you are serving the need of certain stakeholders, basically. So, whatever solution you are birthing, whatever change you are bringing, must offer value, worth, importance, usefulness to stakeholders within a given context. So finally, who was a stakeholder? Who is a stakeholder? Stakeholder is a group of individuals or an individual with a relationship to the change, to the need, or the solution. So to the need may be the unit involved. So let's say, for example, in an organization, um, we have those who, sorry, a second, please. Yeah, let's say in an organization, we have, let's say in a bank, we have the customer service team having lots of people coming to the bank to report issues, right? To report issues. They have to fill forms, they have to answer lots of questions, you have queues in the bank, right? Now, the stakeholder that is connected to the need. So the need basically, or in light of this problem, is to have a more efficient way where you don't have lots of people in the bank and you don't have lots of forms for them to process, right? Now, the stakeholders involved or that have a connection to that need is the customer service unit, represented by the unit head sometimes, right? Now, the individual, the group associated with the change or the solution is, maybe you've identified a change now. The change is that we should have an app empower customers to be able to make such inquiries and requests on a mobile app. Now, the group or individuals that are connected or have a relationship to the change or solution oftentimes would be the development team, whether you have a vendor application or you have an in-house development team. So, and then you also have the project, those who are involved in project teams and all of that. So that's where stakeholders come in. And then, in fact, another stakeholder that is connected to the change will be the customers themselves, right? Solution, let's say development, the change, customers themselves, because now they have to know that they don't have to come to the bank. They're using their mobile apps. They have to be trained on how to use mobile apps, right? Are you seeing the different stakeholders that are playing in this, that are coming to play in this? So that's why business analysis revolves around these 6 concepts, right? So that's what the BACCM is, defines the relationships among these concepts basically in a dynamic system. All right. Before I move to the next thing, let me attempt to answer Adamson's other question. Then we'll take other questions. Then I move to the next aspect of the presentation. So here you say, after a business analyst completes their research and analysis, reviewing documents, present data, what comes next? Is their role limited to just identifying problems and proposing solutions, so they also play a part in the implementation as well? They play a part in implementation as well. They do. So they don't just hand off solution and move on. No. Because you're like an advocate, you're like you're a bridge. So as a business analyst, what we do is we are part of the entire process. First, yes, we do a lot when it comes to the research phase, the identification of and documentation of requirements, right, and proposing solutions. Now, when this is done, we hand it over to the development team to develop, but we come again in what we call user acceptance testing, UAT, where once a solution has been developed or a process has been designed, then we come to test if they meet the requirements. They must. So, in fact, even in the development process, especially if you are doing agile, what we call agile development, agile methodology, you are involved even in the process where you're checking, okay, when they have you are there in the sprint planning, you are there in the sprint reviews. So your goal is to ensure that whatever is being done to solve the problem in terms of solution, in terms of products, meets the initially agreed or defined requirements. You are there to ensure that every stakeholder is fine. And then we can have a sign off and say, okay, this is, so there's what we call definition of done. Everybody agrees on that definition of done, that, okay, this is now done. And when it's live and in use, you also work with whatever team gathers feedback from the users to ensure that this is working as we desired, because tests in a closed environment is different from when we are live in production. So there may be issues we did not envisage. We have to ensure that, okay, we are continually improving a system. So the business analyst is there throughout the life cycle, largely. I hope that answers your question, Adamson. Awesome. All right. Any other questions? Any further questions from anyone? Okay, so I'll proceed in the absence of any further questions. So here we have certifications in business analysis. There are several certifications out there, several. But like we said, the body that regulates the practice of business analysis, just as you have the ACCA, you have ICANN in Nigeria and the likes for accounting. In business analysis, we have what we call the IIB, the International Institutes of Business Analysis. Now, what this body does is they govern a whole lot of things around the practice of business analysis. And aside that, they have certifications, courses to train people and validate that you have the competencies. They also have a membership where you can also join the IIB online. You can look up IIB online and just check. Aside these three courses that we have here, there are lots of other courses that you can just certifications basically business analysis, some specific to product ownership, to agile business analysis and the likes. But the three basic certifications, we have the ECBA, which is the entry certificate in business analysis. We have the CCBA, which is the certification of capability in business analysis. And then we have the certified business analysis professional, the CBAP. So the ECBA is like the entry level. For someone who is just entering the field, you don't have any prior knowledge or experience, right? You can, so let's say for example, after taking training with EvolveHQ, you have some basic information. You can just take the ECBA certification that would certify you as an entry level individual in the BA field. You already have basic knowledge and all. Then for level 2, that's the CCBA. That's for BA professionals who have 2 to 3 years of BA experience, like you've worked on the job as a business analyst for about 2 to 3 years, because they have like work hours requirements, right, before you can write this exam and get the certification. And the level 3 is for BA professionals who have 5 years and above, lead business analyst, senior business analyst. You can have this CBAP certification. It's well recognized globally. It's a global one. So it's not Nigerian, it's not Ghanaian, it's not African, it's global. Yeah. But before I move to the next slide, I like to teach anyone who I mentor when it comes to certifications that in the world today, and especially in tech-related fields, emphasis on certification is not so loud. It's low, because these things have to do with solutions, have to do with projects, have to do with real life application. So what anybody wants to see is what you have done before. I think at this point, I would, so you don't have to wait to say until I have ECB, I want to apply for a job, or until I have this certification, that's when I will get a job. No, what you need to focus on more when you're starting out in the field. And that's why they even have this structure where you have, say, for example, the CCBA, you have to have 3 years of experience. For CBAP, you have to have 5 years. They could have allowed it that anybody can just do CBAP, but you need to have the actual experience. You need to volunteer, take on roles, take a job, whatever it is to build your portfolio. Emphasis is on your portfolio. So when you have the portfolio, then the certifications are like an add-on. They would help you, no doubt, but they are add-ons. They are like the icing on the cake. Of course, a cake without the icing doesn't look as great, but icing without the cake is not a cake. Do you get the balance? So the cake is the cake, but the icing makes it more beautiful and more appealing to the eyes and also sweeter. So yeah, that's the point I was going to drive home. If you are doing a course with EvolveHQ, I think that's sufficient to start with for an entry-level person. You would get the foundational knowledge. We've had students in the past who, because I know EvolveHQ offers internships to some students. I think Alfred is here, he can speak more to that. But we've had students who, even before EvolveHQ could complete the like the process of putting them into organizations for internships, we've had students who, a week after they finished, got a job. I remember one, her name is Ifelua, and she'd been applying even before she finished the course, because what she learned was really valuable to her. And then she was applying to jobs, and she got a job almost immediately after the course, and she was able to defend based on projects she has done during the course and things she has learned. So be hungry for projects, be hungry for actually practicing solutions, right? And then that's basically what you need. So now let's touch on the industry itself. Business analysis industry is a global industry, like we've established. So, and another thing also is it's a career that cuts across different industries. So you can be a business analyst in the oil sector, in the insurance sector, in the energy sector. And I like this career because it helps you know a lot about different industries, because you become like a domain expert. Like for me now, working in insurance over the past 2 3 years, I understand. I'm not just working doing, let's say for example, I'm doing human resources or I'm doing customer service. A lot of what I'm doing is related to the job role and not so much the industry. I might know more things related to my organization itself to help deliver my duties based on my organization. But when it comes to business analysis, you understand the industry in and out, right? It gives you opportunity to understand that industry, to think, to know solutions, innovation in that industry. And then you're working in that industry. Like I also have a client I'm working with in the US in the energy industry, talking about solar um, innovations in technology solutions in solar energy. And with that, I'm able to research and understand more things in solar energy. So it broadens your knowledge and your scope, so you stand better as a business person in the world or as a technology person in the world. So industry with various products and services are always shopping for business analysts on a global scale. Need business analysts, need product owners, need product managers, right? So we have here that business analyst industry is about smelling the coffee. Questions being asked always is, what is the future trends in various industries? So we have, say now we have salaries around the world, right? In the UK, this is as of last year, the average salary for a business analyst is $78,000 dollars per year. In Germany, it's about $96,000 per annum. In the US, it's about $94,000 per annum. In South Africa, it's about $27,000 per annum. In United Arab Emirates, it's about $67,000 per annum. In India, about $12,000 per annum. In Australia, it's about $93,000 per annum. In New Zealand, it's about $75,000 per annum. Can you imagine? Maybe I should start thinking of how to go to Germany now. Because Germany is like the highest paying, then USA, then Australia, and UK. So it's actually, in fact, business analysis is bigger outside Nigeria than in Nigeria, but in Nigeria is also big. In Nigeria, for example, an entry level business analyst currently earns minimum of 250,000 naira, right? Which is largely better than what most people earn. I mean, entry level, right? So it depends on the organization. In some organizations, you could be earning about 400 as an entry level, right? But averagely about 250. You can check Glassdoor, you can check Google, you'd see the current trend. So for someone who is you just finished, let's say you just finished with EvolveHQ now, you want to get a job in business analysis, can can get up to that 250 thereabouts or more. And then for someone who has been in the field for like 2 to 3 years, you can earn up to, that's intermediate level, you can earn up to 600, 700,000. And then For someone who has been there for like 5 years, you're definitely earning the millions. And also depends on the industry, different people. Average is a million and above for if you have 5 years or more experience. If you have 2 3 years experience, less than 5 years, you're talking 500K, 200K, thereabouts. So business analysts are technically paid like developers. It's like, where is it tech money? So that's what it's like basically. Um, so I know we have some from Ghana here. I don't have the pricing for Ghana, but the global wants to just give you an insight of what the pricing is like, right? So it's very lucrative, very, very lucrative. And then this speaks to the volume in terms of continents. So here I'm going to answer again the first question that Adamson asked. What are the career opportunities in business analysis? We have business analysts role. We established also at the start that business analyst is anybody that does so and so and so, right? Which means it's not a closed job title. Do you get? It's not a closed job title. It's a function. Sometimes that is the title. Could be a business analyst, IT business analyst, agile business analyst. Then sometimes you are a product owner. You function as a product owner. Sometimes you function as a scrum master. So all of this is dependent on the context of the organization or the context of the need. But you can spread your tentacles into these different aspects. Product ownership, scrum master. If you learn more about scrum, for me now, at some point in my organization, I was like the scrum master because I had to do a lot around directing sprints, coaching the development team, because we do agile development. So I had to step into the shoes of the scrum master to drive the scrum development. I'm sure you would learn what scrum is in the course of the training later on. So master, and I mean, as a business analyst, if you want to evolve into being a scrum master, you just need to watch a couple of videos and maybe just a week or a month training, you're good. Because you understand the foundation already. The foundation of that role is actually largely business analysis. They are just different new techniques or terminologies to it that is called Scrum. So that's just the extra thing you're going to learn. Then you can be a business architect, you can be a business systems analyst. You could be a data analyst, but that would require you learning more around data, learning Power BI, learning SQL, depending on the context of the organization. But in some organizations, what they call IT business analyst is largely a data analyst because their need is more around foretelling and analyzing data to give business insights, right? So that's why you could also function as a data analyst in some cases if you develop yourself around data, if you're hungry for data. Then you could be a management consultant, you can be a process analyst, you can be a product owner, product manager, you could be a requirement engineer, you could be a system analyst. So what this means is coming out of this training, you can apply for jobs with any of these titles because you have the foundational knowledge. Only that when you apply for such a job, look at the specific requirements and just consume information or knowledge about the specifics. Say Scrum, understand what Scrum is about. Say product ownership, understand what that is about. It's largely business analysis. Do you get? So that's where this comes in. And then as business analysts, we work with cross-functional teams. You work with the project manager, work with the sponsor, work with the licensing roles, work with users, SMEs, change managers, technical writers, process analysts, system analysts, trainers, quality, testers, developers, designers, solution architects. So you are at the center. So I like to one word that describes business analyst a lot for me in organizations is the bridge. It's just like a bridge, ensuring that all the moving parts are working well to achieve the desired change. That's basically it. And you may have to wear different caps at different times, but the goal is identify business problems, establish the rationale for change, and work through the current states to the future states. So that's basically all that we have as business analysts, and that's all I was hoping to share with you guys in this class. So it's time for questions. In case there are other things you want to learn or gray areas you have or something I've talked about that you need more clarity on. That's why we are here. So I'm open to receive questions. It could be about personal experience. It could be whatever it is. Let's discuss. This is our chat section. So the floor is open.
Yeah, so please let us ask our question. Do we have any question for him? Do we have any question? Any question for him? Should I call names? Ijoma, Olabi, Adamson, Ibuko. Do we have any question for him? Jonah?
The question I wants to ask now is, what's a day in the life of a BA like? Right? Does anybody have that question in their hearts? Having talked about everything that business is about. So let me just quickly answer that while you prepare your other questions. So what's a day in the day of a BA like? A day in so typically a day in the life of a BA oftentimes can be different, but there are things that are constant. You would have one word that we use a lot is engagements. And what engagements basically are like are meetings. Because you're working with people a lot, which means you're going to have to. So let's say, let me just think about how I start my day. I'll check my mails. I'll document the projects I have. So I have like a list of projects I'm currently working on. Look at the project. Okay, what are the things I need to do around this project? So sometimes I need to meet with stakeholders to elicit or collect requirements, right? Okay, I'm trying to investigate a particular process or a particular product and how to improve it. So I need to speak with those who are the current users or who are the process owners, you know. So I get to have lots of engagement to understand, to ask questions and gather information. Another thing I want to do is to brainstorm, do research. Another thing I do is to document. So I would write so there are things that we do. We have things like business requirement documents. If you're functioning as a product manager, it would be a product requirement document, right? So you could have a product requirement document. Then also sometimes you are crafting what we call user stories. Sometimes you are grooming what we call a product backlog. So when requirements come in, you're keeping them somewhere, and then you are prioritizing. Alfred, you're saying something. I can't hear you anyway. All right, so you're prioritizing and then you're having meetings. So sometimes you are in stand-ups, what we call stand-ups. They are like short meetings with development teams to understand where things are, like the progress of projects. And then sometimes you're having meetings with stakeholders where you're giving updates on the progress of things. And sometimes you're churning out surveys, gathering information from customers. So it's a combination of having different engagements or meetings with different stakeholders, also researching, then documenting. That's largely what a day in the life of a business analyst is like. So it's usually fun. you're meeting different people, asking different questions, tracking projects, and all of that. So, and then you are testing. That's the last thing I didn't say. You are testing actual products or solutions. And sometimes you are designing processes, right? You design process flows. Yeah, I know we have Adamson who said it's coming from UI UX. They are easily going to play in that field easily. Can you understand user needs, you understand user problems, you understand how to design solutions already. So that's like what the day of a business analyst usually is like. So let me read your question, Adamson. Say, I come from a design, user experience design background, and with a growing interest in building digital ventures and product startups and venture capital. Awesome. In my current role in an early stage startup, I focus on product innovation and growth, which means you're actually doing like the work of a business analyst, often bridging the gap between users and the product itself. Given this context, what would be the best way for me to deepen my knowledge in business analysis and apply it effectively? Which areas should I prioritize in terms of learning and experience to strengthen my impact? Hmm. So you can one thing you can do, you already have, I mean, from your UI UX background, you already know how to develop. Do you already develop user stories? I know you understand use cases, you do case studies, you do user research already. That
Yes, I do.
yes. So you already have those foundations. So I think what you need to grow yourself on will be the business side of things. Things around business and project side of things, things around project management, things around business modeling, things around financial modeling too sometimes, because you said you're trying to um build digital ventures and products. Understand business modeling, understand financial modeling, understand things like when we talk about cost benefit ratios, right? When you Because sometimes when you want to recommend or churn out a solution, you're looking at the cost against the benefit you are getting. So that's one of the things business analyst does also. We don't just recommend solution that is not profitable to the business, right? So we are thinking with profit in mind, we are thinking with user satisfaction also in mind. So the difference now is for you, you already understand the user aspect of things. You can come up with solutions and stuff for from the user perspective, but you need to also now strengthen the business perspective on how does the business make profit from this? How can we grow? Do you get? So things around second place. Let me go over the knowledge areas again. Things around strategy. You need to strengthen yourself in the aspect of strategy. Study things around the strategy level of things, and then the business analysis, planning, and monitoring aspect. Those are the knowledge areas you would have to work on largely. So yeah, that's it. Business architecture also. Just strengthen the business side of things. That's what you will need more. And I think that's you should be able to get in a business analysis course. Yeah. Any other question from anyone?
I don't think we have any other question. I really don't think from Ibuko, Olabi. I don't think we have any other question. I
Okay,
don't
so over
think
to
so.
you. Over to you,
Yeah,
Alfred.
thank you
Okay.
very, very much, sir. Can we appreciate him using our stickers, our reaction, our emoji? Yes. Can we appreciate it? Can we appreciate him using our stickers, our emoji? Yeah, Jonah, I can see you. Please let us do that. Let us appreciate him. It has been a
Thanks.
great and insightful section. Great and insightful section. So there is a question here.
Yeah, from
I'm
that
waiting
side.
for you. Can you walk me through the practical difference? Oh, you want to do practical between business analysis and business analytics? I think I
Okay.
mentioned this to you. Business analytics now dive into Microsoft Excel. Yeah, analytics dive into Excel, some core parts, some Power BI, because you are also being able to analyze a lot of data. That's like the analytic
Exactly.
part. Am I right,
Exactly.
Mr. Busayo?
Yes, you're spot on. So the difference is
And that,
business analytics
yeah,
is
go ahead,
more
please. Go ahead,
around,
please.
yeah, business analytics is almost like data analytics. It's just that business analytics adds a business side to it a bit, where there your all the analysis you are doing has a business undertone in terms of financial modeling, in terms of um, a- analyzing data basically within the context of business, but it's largely around data. So that's why if you have a foundation of business analysis, you could go into business analytics, but you would have to furnish your skills on data very well. But business analysis itself it has very little to do with data. It's more around solution, business solutions basically. It's more about identifying business problems and preferring business solutions to them. So that's like the difference.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that. So, for those that are willing and interested to join the business analysis training starting this April, kindly check the message section on this call right now. I've dropped a link there. When you click for the business analysis training starting soon. However, for anybody on the call that is not in Nigeria right now, maybe you're in UK, you're not in Africa, you're not in West Africa, you're in UK, or you're in any other country outside Africa, and you're willing to join our business analysis training, so there is also a different group for people in diaspora. There is a different group of people in diaspora, and there is a different training for people over there, which will be taken by experts in that country. Because the expert there will be using case studies that is relatable to what is happening in that country. So he has to the expert will be using case studies of what is relatable. So meaning what is happening in Africa, what is happening in Nigeria, what is happening in Ghana, in Kenya, in South Africa. Those are the case studies, and a section that the trainer will be using in the course of the training. So that's why we want people that are in different countries, different continents rather, to join different training, because Africa will want. So let's join Africa training. So like I said, if you're interested in joining our training, you can check the in-call message section on this call and send a message to me, because our business analysis training is starting to strictly hands-on practical intensive training that runs for 2 months. And the training is designed to make it a job readiness training. It's a job readiness training. So you will undergo a rigor training of 2 months hands-on practical intensive that you work on capstone project. You'll be presenting those projects to us, and we'll be validating your knowledge leveraging on that project for 2 months. After the 2 months, you get into another 2 month internship scheme. We have a tax-based internship scheme. We'll be able to collect up to 6 to 8 tax projects. So when you're going to meet recruiter at the end of the internship tax-based scheme, you're going to meet recruiters with CVs, you're going to meet recruiters with portfolios, and you're going to meet recruiters with experience, because those tax-based are projects, are different projects from different sectors that you'll be working on, and they are strictly answered. So you can show recruiters what you've worked on in different niches and different area, and the goal is for you to get an opportunity. So if you can go through the rigor training, if you can go through the rigor internship, that's like 4 months. You just be paying for the training, that's like 4 months, then you should be ready and willing to conquer the world. At the end of this month, we are reviewing our training course, which means really that the training fee will be going up anytime soon. So I would like you to jump on this right now, so you can sign up and you can benefit from this amazing deal and amazing opportunity. So, like I said, you can join the class group using the in chat section, or if you want to chat me or you want to send a message on WhatsApp or to make more inquiry, I'm going to drop my number right now so that you can reach out to me privately and we can have further conversation. We are also registered in the UK right now, and we're currently moving to United States of America right now. That's the USA. So yes, my name is Alfred, and I've dropped my number so that you can send me a DM, you can send me a WhatsApp message,